Okay, this is a video about the phase between yellow and green, the Humpty Dumpty phase, with an interview or chat with Peter Kok from the Netherlands, who also has a podcast channel called A Bite of Spirituality. And he also already made a video, oh no, he already made a podcast about this Humpty Dumpty phase. And now because we met on the Facebook group of this channel, we chatted a little bit and we thought it would be a nice thing for everyone to make a video about it. So hello, Peter.
Hello, Christiaan. Good morning.
Good morning. So the Humpty Dumpty phase. Why is it called Humpty Dumpty phase? Humpty Dumpty, in case someone doesn't know what Humpty Dumpty is, it's a British children's rhyme, and it means that something is very fragile and is very difficult to repair or impossible to repair once it breaks. So why, Peter, is the time between, or the transition from green to yellow, a Humpty Dumpty phase, and why are we now in it?
Well, you got eyes. So since March 2020, I think everybody, if they are spiritual or conscious or not, everybody can watch TV and see what happened. The only thing between quote, quote, normal people and you and I is that we have our sort of channels in sort of way that we can look a little bit more behind the curtains.
Mm-hmm.
I think without sounding too arrogant, I think it is true. I know of you that you have other channels than how do we call it? There's a name for it.
Well, let's just say I don't only use my eyes and ears.
Yeah, me too. Sixth Sense?
Maybe, yes. Let's call it Sixth Sense.
Yeah, let's call it that. And your question was again?
Why do you call it Humpty Dumpty phase in between green and yellow? Now, you already answered why we're in it now, because the shit hit the fan already globally.
Yeah.
But why do you like to call it that? The transition from green to yellow, which is of course very special because it's not only from one color to another, spiral dynamics, but from first tier to second tier. So it's from personality development to conscious development. It's a totally different topic.
Yeah, how I experience it, and I experienced it since last year, that for myself, nothing works as it used to work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, not especially. I got the feeling that I raised above my personality,
Mm-hmm.
and I've experienced it already 15 years. But this was also a big shift for me, and as it happened, and I got some visions too in my sleep. Then I know this is this is the giant leap we're making at the moment. The Humpty Dumpty leap, the leap from green to yellow, from first tier to second tier. You know?
The thing is, Humpty Dumpty, he sat on a wall, and you cannot keep sitting on that wall between green and yellow. At some point, you have to make a move, and then it might be that you fall down and break, which is, of course, a necessary step. You have to be.
And the nice thing in this case, Christiaan, is that you don't have to take the step personally.
Yeah.
You get pushed by the consciousness.
Yeah, it seems that up till now it was more an individual thing, but now the lemmings, they're pushed over the edge by.
Yeah. That's how it feels for me. For you too?
Yeah, and I think it feels so for many people, but there are some people who try to remain sitting on the wall, on the border, on the fence sitters.
And look at the government.
Of course, there are other people who run away and they run back towards orange and blue and so on because of the fear. The whole atmosphere is saturated by fear.
You have at the moment, last week I was watching a podcast from also some people who watch a bit more like you and me. We're like the 1%, but then others than the Klaus Schwabs of this world, and they talked about the whole thing of last year, and you have 3 parts at the moment. You have the part of the people who are scared and who wants to get back to the old normal.
Yeah, which is probably not possible.
No, it is not possible, but they are going to experience that in the future, But then you have the second part, and that is the part of the elite, the Klaus Schwab thing, Build Back Better. And
there are always people who found out how to make money from debt. And for them, it's perfect, the situation. They make tons of money by other people getting poorer. So, of course, they want to continue the situation.
And that podcast said about the third part. There's also a third part, and the third part is it's the invisible part at the moment. It's more like the new energy which finds its way, but we as people for us it's also new that way. So I think and also other people. I'm also watching a podcast from Awake Origins from a guy I met, and he also interviewed people who experience it the same way, that they are following not the money, but they are following the energy.
Yes.
And that is, in my opinion, the third part. How do you experience it? Do you also experience this, Christiaan?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So far, most countries, they had less than 1% second tier inhabitants. Some countries maybe 1, 2, or 3%.
Yeah.
And this could really change now, and we don't know what happens because it never has happened.
Yeah.
What will happen if 5, 10, or 20% of the population are suddenly centered in yellow?
Yeah.
Because then something really can shift.
How much % do we need, you think, that it switches?
Yeah, usually it's at least 10% for a switch.
Yeah.
Like in the 60s and 70s, green manifested.
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
that way. And that was a huge difference.
yeah,
But this is a second tier, so it could be an even more extreme difference.
I think, as you say, it's more extreme, I guess.
And as we have talked about yesterday in a little chat
Yeah.
that we had, the strange thing about yellow is
2 hours, yesterday.
it was 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't even notice.
Yeah, yeah. But it's as I already said after the chat, it wasn't short, Christiaan, but it was timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it was just a little bit of a getting to know chat, and okay, wow, 2 hours.
well, it.
The strange thing about yellow is that you have to reorient yourself totally.
Yeah.
Because you have a new way of living and a new way of seeing and experiencing the world.
Yeah.
But you're still living in a world with different values, with the material values. But your own mindset left the material values and is looking for something else now. But you still have to find a way to survive in this material world.
Yeah. And in my opinion, the great thing when you have taken the leap from first to second tier is that you can transcend and include. And that's also a sort of condition to see if you are second tier or not.
Yeah, first tier is either or.
Yeah, yeah.
Either you're with me or against me. Either it's right or wrong.
There is and.
Genau, including and adding more and more and more layers until it gets more and more complete.
True, Christiaan. Yeah, yeah. And that's why we are not getting crazy.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know about your podcast, probably the same, but one of the reasons why I started this channel last year,
yeah,
I think it was in March or April, exactly around the time when the shit hit the fan,
yeah,
was to create something for people who had already arrived in the second tier to help them in their reorientation. Because otherwise you think, wow, suddenly in second tier and it's really shitty here because I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's so new. It's like moving to another country. And then, of course, my God, you have to learn all these new things.
Yeah.
Because everything is just alien, feels alien somehow. And to give a little bit of possibility of guidance or even reassurance only that this is completely normal and everything is fine. That was one of the aims of starting this channel.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I already had 50 years ago my Kundalini awakening spontaneously. So I had a lot of spiritual experiences, and I read the book Spiral Dynamics already 13 years ago. So I was a little bit into it, you know. But still, the leap was enormous and mind shattering, you know. And but already last year in March, after I got some experiences and I made the leap, I already in March or April I already had the feeling I have to do something with this knowledge, you know.
Yes.
And you also had that because you started the podcast, and I also was planning to do a podcast, but in the months after that, I got the feeling that this is too early for me to bring, and also the reactions of the crowd was too anxious,
Yes.
and it was a bit too I think that the audience would think when I dropped it then that I was the most arrogant guy in the world.
Yeah, that's always a danger, of course.
Yeah,
But
and I don't, and nowadays I don't give a fuck anymore.
Exactly. I stopped a long time ago caring what other people think about me.
Yeah, but for me it's a year now. But you are longer into this kind of spheres,
Yeah. Yeah. As I also said before in other videos, that there are many channels out there who try to help people who are centered in green to get into yellow.
Yeah.
But my aim was more to assist people or to connect people. It's also a networking experiment to connect people who are already in second tier, who are already in yellow, turquoise, and coral, and so on.
Yeah.
Because you also can get stuck there, especially in yellow, because in yellow suddenly there's so much knowledge available.
Yeah.
And people get stuck there because you can spend many, many lives in gathering all this knowledge. You will never be finished.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And then how to move on? Yeah, that is for me always the interesting question. Okay, now I got this. Next, how to move on?
Yeah, I can only say from my own experience that last year, around the Corona crisis, I made the leap from green to yellow, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know if I'm further, and I don't care either. But I definitely got the feeling that I'm second tier yellow, at least.
Yeah.
And but maybe you can tell me what your opinion is after you met me yesterday, where I am in the spiral dynamics on the spiral.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, as you said, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
From a higher point of view, and
Yeah.
no color is better than another, and it's also not a linear ladder upwards.
Yeah.
It's not even a spiral, but it's more like an onion. That's how also Claire Graves presented it. It's more and more layers, and it's inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that you can be arrogant about. It's just that you see another perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're somewhere between yellow and turquoise.
Oh yeah, I thought it myself also, but and that's
hard to tell about yourself. Yeah.
I don't feel stuck in yellow. It's heavy and it's mind shattering,
Yeah.
but I don't feel stuck in yellow.
You're not.
It's more like going further into turquoise or something.
Yeah. But now, in case this is true, which seems to be the case, but we will see only in retrospective.
Yeah.
In retrospective, if a lot of people now transition from green to yellow,
yeah,
then many people will find themselves in a completely new situation, and they will be very unsure what to do.
Yeah. That's why
something new has to emerge. Yeah, it's not in green. Kind of, it's enough to be a little bit rebellious and to buy organic food and to go to meditation and hatha yoga and wear strange clothes and stuff, and then you're green. It's all fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in yellow, it's not about anything anymore that has to do with personality or outer experience. How you look like, what is called outer
Yeah, I know what you mean. Your appearance.
Appearance, thank you. Outer
Yeah,
appearance is
yeah,
really only what's going on inside of you
yeah,
and how you connect to others. And also
yeah,
finding others who are like-minded.
yeah. As you and I do.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
True, true.
And
I also see this chat and also your Facebook group as a sort of study uh, to go further. And as we are second tier, we dare to say that we also have a mentor function, I presume. And I
yeah, which is also
already,
not easy because I always like to keep things in a flat hierarchy. I
yeah,
don't want to
that's
talk
true.
like teacher like from above.
No, me neither. But I got to hear this from people who I help with business, that they see me. I am father also of a son of 12. That if you want it or not, they see you as a mentor.
Hmm.
You know, and it's their opinion, not my opinion. You
Yeah.
know. So, it's fine with me. They also maybe see me as a football player, you know, or yeah, uh, it's fine with me. I don't give a fuck anymore. I give a fuck about making the transition at the moment for the world and for my kid. Uh, that he can grow further, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's your mission or your drive. Maybe you can tell.
Yeah, I most of the time I cannot tell myself. I just go with the flow.
Yeah, well, that is
But
the problem.
um,
You get pushed, and if you want or not, you get pushed in your
yeah,
back.
I get pushed into it. That's right. Um, yeah, one of the things I thought about last year was to have some physical meeting, which was not possible,
Physical meeting.
of those people who are in the Facebook group and who are listening to the channel.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it will never be possible.
And,
Maybe
and,
it's not
and,
necessary.
and why did you have that?
I don't know. Just I went with my wife to a beautiful place in the Italian mountains, and I thought, wow,
Yeah,
this would be a really cool place to just
yeah.
hang out and together a few people really meet. It's nice to meet over the internet in this way. It's a very yellow thing,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think it's not enough. But I may also be influenced by my time in India, where I was living together with a lot of people who were in green and yellow, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, okay. And your wife, I didn't know you had a wife, but and where is she in her consciousness? In
Yeah,
your opinion?
also second tier. Yeah,
Okay.
it's difficult otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's quite impossible, but on the other hand, you are capable to transcend and include her, right?
Yeah, but it's if I would be living together with someone, I don't know, who would be centered in blue or orange or so, it would be difficult still.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would understand it from
Especially blue, I presume, right?
one.
Uh, especially blue, because
Yeah,
when that person
dogmatic.
is too religious, in her opinion, then we as spiritual beings are way out, you know?
Yeah, from a blue perspective, blue also doesn't see the difference between religion and spirituality.
Yeah.
So, and there's certain laws, and it has to be like that, and no discussion.
Yeah, and the thing with laws, I always want to break them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the green thing. Green always wants to break all the laws.
Then I'm still a green guy.
No, you still have green. We all still have all the colors in us.
Yeah.
And some people are born green or born yellow.
Yeah.
It can also be. It can be that you have always been centered in green.
Yeah. Well, I always have been, especially when I was around 16, I always have been quite rebellious.
Yeah.
But that's also maybe because of my father was into the military
Okay, then.
in my youth. So that's a really hierarchical.
Hierarchy.
Yeah. And when you are around 16, that's a problem, you know. Nowadays, I go very well with both my father as my mother, but in those days it was a problem. But um, and I always went out and break everything, you know. And instead of sitting in the corner and be anxious, I always was out and break things, you know. Yeah, and after and then later on that also balanced out, and now I'm really a fluffy guy.
So how do you think it will happen, this shift? How do you think it will happen that so many green people will dare to move into yellow? Or do you think they will just be shoved into?
I don't think it's a question of daring. I think how I experienced it, you get pushed by the consciousness.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I already yesterday we talked already about is there going to be a revolution?
Yeah.
And I didn't answer that question, but you did. I asked you, is there going to be a revolution? And I was thinking about it after our chat, and I think it's going to be like I just told the third pot. You know, the third pot in a way that there's going to be a revolution, but not too violent, I presume. It's going to be more mild, but I think the people take over the government in a not so drastic way. They just go their own way, you know, and the government will leave them speechless behind, you know. That's how I experience how it's going already.
That would be the ideal, yes.
Yeah. And
now what I thought about since yesterday was that somehow also this is the bill for people who are spiritually oriented or think they are, and letting stupid people run the governments and the economy. Because so far everyone said, well, we are so spiritual, I don't want to involve myself in politics and stuff.
Yeah.
That's too low and too gross for me. But if you let greedy children run the show, then at some point you will get the bill.
Yeah.
It's like also if you're an adult, you can't just let the children decide everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you say in sort of way, but I think it's really the time for those people who say they are spiritual to become more outspoken
Yes.
and more. They have to stretch their backs and they have to come more on the barricades as an example.
Yes.
And not in a violent way,
Exactly.
but more as an example to the others who are too fucking scared, and just show them, hey, don't be scared, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but that's visionary talk, and we'll see in a year or two or three. Yeah, if I was right or you were right. And I don't give a fuck if I'm right. I just want to be happy for the world, you know. And
Yeah, it's a huge possibility. Every crisis is also a huge possibility.
yeah,
New
yeah,
doors are opened, and it's yeah. Now we
yeah.
have to
But
wait what happens.
I think you and I can see that way because we're not anxious, you know.
Yeah.
And when you're not anxious, your perspective is wider, I presume.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're scared, you have a very
Narrow-minded.
narrow
Yeah.
perspective. You only, yeah, basically your instincts are taking over, and everything is only about survival.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. That's how
It's how do you call it again? It was my first year in marketing. Oh man, that's been a long time. I was 18. You had a letter. Do you know what it's called? The
no.
letter. Yeah. One moment. You know the letter, and it's sort of like a spiral from spiral dynamics, but you had a letter with marketing, and it's also got a name. And on the first letter, on the first how do we call it? On the first step, it was all about surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And
You mean Maslow's pyramid?
yeah.
Yeah, you have to have certain needs fulfilled before you can think about anything else. And right now, very basic needs, like even food and shelter, are threatened. So people are only thinking about food and shelter right now, and toilet paper and stuff like that.
Yeah. Toilet paper. Yeah.
And it is necessary that they can think about something else as well.
Yeah. And maybe I don't. Well, that's not the case for me. I got my house. I got a roof above my head. I've got my child. I got food. So I don't have these things. I make enough money, not much, but enough. You know. I got good family and friends around me. So yeah, and I'm not afraid to die.
That's the most important thing, actually.
Yeah,
If you're afraid of death, then you can be manipulated super easily.
Yeah.
And you manipulate yourself also.
Yeah, since 2.5 years, I'm not anxious anymore, and I'm not afraid to die. but that's also because of I've had already several near-death experiences, and I know that that is not a punishment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, but imagine that you will be someone else who lost their job and their house.
Yeah. I can imagine that, and I know that in that way I have an easy life, but and after I got cancer 15 years ago, I already got fully 100% unable to work. So I got my how do you call it? Uitkering.
Yeah, like a pension or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called in a book from the earlier days. They called it. I thought it was from Sri Aurobindo. He called it God's pension. Do you understand?
No.
Uh,
God's pension.
God's pension.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got
I thought
an
it was
extension. You got an extension on your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you think it would be possible for someone who lost everything in the crisis to advance rather than retreat?
You mean how to go further forward?
Yeah.
Well, as I experienced in my own life, I've been addicted to cocaine, to ecstasy, to weed, to booze. You first have to hit rock bottom, and then and also in this crisis, you have to really rock the roots and rip out the roots and then grow new again. It can. That's the problem of this society, I presume. There's too much symptom. How do you call it?
Yeah, they try to cure some symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's the Green and Left parties now in Germany. They're discussing of how to give some more money to the nurses.
Yeah.
That's great, but it doesn't solve anything right now.
Yeah.
That's not the problem.
No.
It is a problem, but it's not the problem.
The problem is in the root and not in the symptom. I presume. And no, I presume, I'm sure about that because I read a lot about how this system is going to resurrect again. And you also know, of course, from your books and from Spiral Dynamics how it works. And
I'm a big fan of Daniel Quinn, who wrote this very famous books like Ishmael and Story of B and so on. And yeah, he also predicted that the system will crash soon. Already decades ago, he said it's like a plane crash, what's happening now.
Yeah.
And the plane is already in the crashing phase. It's already going down.
Yeah.
But people don't want to know that. They think we just have to go faster. We just have to go faster, and then everything will be all right.
Yeah.
And now it's crashing.
Yeah.
But it has been clear since decades that it can only crash. It cannot be saved.
Yeah.
The system is so faulty. It's based on lots of fake stuff.
Yeah.
So it cannot, it cannot possibly work.
No, you're totally right. And I stopped reading since now 10 years, and I'm really I'm not an intellectual guy. I'm more learning by doing, you know. And my little brother, he's really an intellectual. And but how did you call that writer?
Daniel Quinn.
Daniel Quinn. And you mentioned one title.
Ishmael was his most famous book. It's a story about a gorilla
Yeah.
who wants to save the world, and he's looking for a human being he can pass on his message to before he dies.
Okay.
And he kind of says, is there hope for mankind without gorilla? And is there hope for gorilla without mankind? It's a very green angle, but the message is turquoise. The problem is, according to him, that human beings think since a few thousand years that they're better than anything else, that
Yeah.
they're better and more worth than all the other animals and all the other things on the planet, and that they don't
Yeah.
treat the planet as their house basically, but as something they
As
have
a
to,
temple. Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
slave
Yeah.
or something, and the animals
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And that cannot
Yeah.
be
All
possible,
right.
of course. If you destroy your environment, you will die
Yeah.
because you're not
Yeah.
independent of it.
Yeah. Did you see the latest documentary of Michael Moore,
No.
Planet of the Humans? And the last scene is about two monkeys who dying because of the biomass destruction of the jungle. You know. Yeah, it's really. But another thing which is nice when you just told about Daniel Quinn. Do you know the name of my son?
No.
No, it's called Ismail.
Really? And you have to
Yeah,
read the book. You really have to
yeah,
read the
yeah.
book.
And as you told me now about Daniel Quinn and the title, uh, that's enough for me that I have already seen the cover of the book.
There's also, if you don't want to read, there's an audio book about it also.
Oh
You
yeah,
can listen to it.
That's a really good tip. And I called him Ismail for various reasons, but I live here in Amsterdam, really in the Turkish part of Amsterdam, you know.
Okay.
And I already mentioned that the Turkish and the Moroccan children, so many of those kids are called Ismail.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah. And but my son, he's really a blonde guy from two modern Dutch people. So yeah, that's always nice when I was in kindergarten places in the earlier days when he was younger, and the Turkish and the Moroccan people heard his name, they were flabbergasted.
Okay.
Ismail with the blonde hair, you know. Yeah, it was strange for them, but for me, it's a nice way to to build bridges, and between Ismail, the blonde guy, and Ismail, the Arabic guy, or the Muslim guy. Yeah, doesn't matter, We're all human. So
Exactly. This is a good example because the thing people can realize now that we're all sitting in one boat. It's this bodhisattva thing. It's
yeah,
not, you cannot in the long run ignore the others. I mean, from a very, very high spiritual perspective, of course, there's only one. There are not many people, but in the world we experience daily with the laws of time and so on, there are several billion people, and
yeah,
we're all sitting in one boat. We're all
yeah,
one. It's humanity is one. It's not. Yes, it's divided into, I don't know, 8 point something billion people, but it's all one. So anyone who still has the illusion or delusion
yeah,
that he or she can live a luxurious life and
yeah,
on while others suffer,
yeah,
this this is just not true.
yeah. Yeah, but that also came up really quick when last March in 2020 everything collapsed, sort of way. Then you really have the feeling we already had, but the quote quote normal people, the interconnectedness of things,
Yeah, it
and
got worse. Even people feel more disconnected than ever.
yeah, but they, from the other hand, they experience that everything is more connected than they ever thought.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, they experience that there is connection is real. That's true.
yeah, because last year it started in China on that marketplace, and you saw how fast it spreads all over the world, and all the measurements, and yeah, it was really fascinating to see it on a 3D level, and I presume that you but me also, we have enlightenment experiences that we already experienced it before, that all is one. But last year it was really nice to see how it um, got into 3D, And but that's also interesting what you say, that people experience everything as very disconnected. And I mentioned, but people last year must have seen that everything is so connected.
Yeah, both is true, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's also there's a word for it. I can't find the word at the moment, but that's really the. In Holland, we also we have where I am living and I'm sitting in the west is also the most dangerous to be because of the sea.
Okay.
It's a paradox. It's a paradox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. And yeah, because normally you should live further away from the sea, because we are below sea level.
Yeah, you're below sea level, right?
Yeah. And you better can live in the east. you know? Yeah, but paradoxically, I live in the West, and I'm totally not busy with sea. You know, I am busy with sea when a fleet is coming, a
Flood.
tsunami. You know,
Yeah,
that,
and there's a flood now globally, and
yeah.
some
That's
countries handle it better than others.
what did you say?
There is a flood now happening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. What
but
of
and some countries handle it better than others, like Sweden and India and so on. They handled it better.
yeah, there's a flood of consciousness
Yeah.
at the moment, a tsunami, and also in Holland we have an hospital director who blah 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 Kuipers, and he always talks about a tsunami in the hospitals, you know. But there is a tsunami going on since a year, but in another way, as he mentioned it. So
Actually, when there was, how long was it ago? 15 years or so, I don't remember exactly. There was this big tsunami happening in India and
yeah,
Thailand
yeah,
and Indonesia.
yeah, yeah,
And I was there at that time. Actually, I was just on the way to the beach.
yeah.
And then there were all these people coming towards me, fleeing from the beach.
Cool.
And lots of people lost their houses and everything. It was all just swept away. And afterwards, you could see the motorbikes up on the palm trees and so on.
Yeah,
And people recovered from that.
yeah,
And in some ways, it got what happened afterwards was better than before. Also because
yeah,
everyone was helping together to rebuild.
yeah. But I also think that this crisis is for the better. And I told you yesterday, I've had around February, March 2020, I've had two experiences with visions, and one of those visions was that the consciousness break through like a tsunami. It really looked that way in my dream, you know. And but I know it was different than a dream because it wasn't personal. It was transpersonal dream, you know. So yeah, but I already told you. But I thought it was nice to mention now for this podcast.
Yeah, let's see. That's why I liked it that you called it Humpty Dumpty, because Humpty Dumpty breaks. And you
Yeah,
cannot put Humpty Dumpty back together again, how he was. You have to, and either
that's
you have to build something new,
yeah,
or like you said, you make an omelette, or a chicken hatches, something will happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That is different than before, and there's no way back. That's the thing with spiral dynamics. You can always go back and forth between colors.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
once you're in second tier,
You
it's
can't go back.
unlikely that your center will shift. We still have all the first tier colors, but it's unlikely, very, very unlikely that your center of gravity will shift back to a first tier color.
Yeah, but what you tell right now, that's also what people say, and also I say, um, when you have an enlightenment experience, you also don't go back, you know? You can't go back
And
because
that's where
you,
I don't agree, actually. I know lots of
okay,
people who had enlightenment experiences and they did go back.
okay, but
Something remains, of course. Something remains.
yeah.
But you can fall out of abiding permanent enlightenment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not saying I am permanent enlightened. Not at all. I would never say that. And that's why I like the Anti-Guru movie also from what's his Uji?
UG, yeah, UG.
Yeah, Uji so much. I'm really anti-guru, and that's why I like you so much, because you don't pretend to be a guru, you know, and me neither. But maybe it has also to do that I don't have fallen back, because quite soon after my first enlightenment experience, I have done 40 days of sadhana from Kundalini yoga. And that's really this intense that at 3:30 in the night you stand up, you go showering cold, and from 4:30 till 7 you do 2.5 hours of yoga, and that 40 days in a row. And that's such a since then I'm still up at 4 o'clock. You know, it transformed something in my mind. That's it's been 13 years ago, but yeah, it's like a click in my brains, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like 2.5 months ago. For the first time in 34 years, I quit smoking. You know, that's also finally you have to switch. That once it's switched the other way, then it will get that way. It will stay that way, and I also have the experience. Luckily, that I experienced it that way with the enlightenment experiences. You
Okay.
know, yeah. And I am not going to fall back. I already knew it from for 15 years. So
That's possible. That doesn't happen to you, but it happens to some people. It can
yeah.
happen.
But I think your life will be that of a heroin addict when you fall back after.
Yes, yes, that's yeah, that is just described like that.
I think you will sooner or later really hit bottom again.
Yeah, then
That's
yeah,
my assumption. Eh?
but the thing is, the fallback position then is yellow. If you're in first tier and the shit hits the fan, you can go all the way back to beige, where it's only about survival. Well, if you're centered in a second tier color, the fallback position is yellow. And it's easier to recuperate from yellow than from beige.
Yeah. I know how you mean it. Yeah.
But
So,
otherwise, I know many people who have, for example, meditated for a year or 2 or 3 or 5, and then they thought they were enlightened, but it was only in that context. As long as they were living in that monastery or ashram or setting, it worked. But as soon as you step out into quote, quote, normal life, suddenly it's different. Because most other people don't care if you think you're enlightened or not, or even if you're enlightened or not. They can't even see it. They just want to know if you can afford the rent.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it yesterday also. The thing with being enlightened, if you are, or if I am, that you have to be enlightened. I think it's the biggest challenge to be enlightened in a sort of horizontal way,
Yes.
not vertical, but horizontal. As you live in the middle of Munich, I live in the middle of Amsterdam, and I think that's also the challenge for the future yellow people,
Exactly. It has to
Yeah,
be made possible that someone who has a spiritual, conscious orientation and focus in life
yeah,
can live in the normal society. Also, that it is probably, maybe that will change, that maybe will be some value assigned to it.
yeah.
Although right now, what happened up till now is that most of the teachers and coaches and speakers and so on out there now, they're green. There's some who are orange, some who are yellow scented.
Yeah.
Most of them are green scented.
Yeah. That's also my experience.
And they're very charismatic. So it's not really their teaching, what they're selling. They're selling their charisma.
Yeah. And they are really like, how do you call it? One moment, like a poster on a like posters on their pulpits,
Yeah.
And they are acting a bit. It has a name. One moment. Sort of, they are acting exalted.
Yeah.
Above the crowd, and that's really the green guru, in my opinion. And Christiaan, as I got to know you a little bit better yesterday and today also, when is your first TED Talk you're going to do?
My first what?
Your first TED Talk. TED Talk. You know TED Talk?
TED. Oh. Yeah, that's a very good example, actually, these TED Talks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they invite a lot of orange and green gurus.
Yeah.
They're not interested in anything second tier. I think so.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned you. I'm not in charge of the TED Talks, but I think you can do it in a real second tier way, and take it as a compliment.
Thank you. Yeah, probably could. The question is always, who is interested in that stuff?
Well, I think, but that's interesting. I also found a podcast that is really second tier, but there are so few viewers that can correlate to that. So you're totally right. As I mentioned yesterday, at least you're a decade ahead.
Maybe, but it's necessary that there's something like that for similar-minded people.
Yeah, and that will grow in a year or in 10 years. And I know we're the pioneers. I dare to say to that ain't the problem, but yeah, I don't know how long it will take, But
Yeah, that's you can never know how long something takes and what the result will exactly be and when it will come and how it will come. But that's
yeah,
exactly the point about second tier. Second tier is about jumping without knowing what
yeah,
will happen.
yeah,
Even a total disaster, you have to
yeah,
take into account.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
It feels
matter.
like a free fall. Yeah,
Yes, it's a free fall, and you don't know if you will ever hit the bottom or not, or you will start flying or whatever. You just
yeah,
have to leave it to the divine or to the universe, whatever you call it.
yeah.
You have to give up this result thing.
Well, I've hit the bottom, rock bottom, many times in my life, and I'm not afraid to die, so I don't feel anxious since last year. You understand?
I understand, yes.
And are you anxious? No, I presume.
It's not really. I don't enjoy the situation right now.
Oh, me neither.
But I'm not afraid to die. And
No.
I'm not afraid of diseases also. That's I'm not someone who believes in diseases. I believe in immune system.
Yeah.
And your immune system is fending off millions of diseases every day.
Yeah.
So why waste my time in being afraid of one of them?
Yeah, and I experience more and more the self healingness of the body
Exactly.
and
It's
of
doing
the
it
mind.
all the time. You cut yourself in the finger and it's healed after 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, yeah. But you have to let it heal and give it the time to heal, and not go to the doctor and do something symptomatic with it, you know. So yeah. Hey, Christiaan.
Yes. So let's leave it like that for today.
I we just when we were just talking about that and not afraid, being not afraid. I already had the feeling that this is a nice a nice time to stop. I presume,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you have anything left.
No, that's you're right.
And we got an hour and 50 minutes.
Already, my God.
In my opinion, it went pretty well, despite my English.
Don't worry.
No. It was good enough, in my
Good
opinion.
enough. Yes.
Yeah. It was a 9, and that's enough. Yeah. For me, I never schreven. Yeah, it was also with my school. I never strive for the 10. A 9 is good enough, in my opinion. So I don't want to be God, you know. So 9 is good enough.
Yeah, I never strive for anything anymore. So for me, a 9 is also good enough.
Yeah. But well, I do strive that my English is at least a 7, because otherwise other people cannot interpret our talk.
Okay, yeah, that's true. It's
So
language is very interesting topic for another time.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, then so we summarize in a few sentences. Fear and no fear are big topics. And especially the fear, if Humpty Dumpty breaks, it will not be the end of all. It will only be the end of how things are now.
Yeah.
And something new will emerge.
Yeah, always. Because everything is defined. And it won't end up like a nuclear war or something like that.
No.
And people who are really afraid to die, about 2 years ago, a girlfriend of me came to me, and she said, that was when the tension was so high with North Korea and Trump.
Yeah.
And she was really afraid of a nuclear war. And but I always say to her, it's totally fine, And the nuclearity and stuff, that's human. And where humans are so small compared to the big, strong, defined stuff. And I experienced it many times in my life. That that's why I'm not afraid, And if I might die, then I know that beyond is it's also okay,
Yes. Exactly. So what?
And I'm not. I was thinking this morning that, for example, my father, he is much more. How do you call it? Into me, my brother, my mother, his little. Ismail, his little, how do you call it, son. You are fearful to leave behind the people here, but you don't have to fear.
But even that you don't have to do, because it's not your job.
What
you leave behind. I mean, in a way, yes, of course, you're not willfully destroying things, but otherwise, the universe will take care of it. Not everything is your job. You're not God. I mean, you're part of God, but you're not.
Yeah, but when you have met the divine once or multiple times, then you're not afraid anymore of the divine.
Exactly.
And that's also because a lot of people, especially in these times, are full of fear,
Yeah.
And fear of leaving behind the illusion where they lived in, the baby boom, but also when you're my age, 46, or your age, because we also grew up in these illusion, the second tier, the first tier illusion.
Yeah, very safe for many people, not for everyone. For many people, they grew up in a very safe way in society.
Yeah, and remember the 90s, and our parents, the baby boomers, But I think I'm the only thing for me as a father is that but that's also the drive to do podcasts like this, to spread the sort of fearlessness to the people, because I think we do, because we are not fearful, and that my son can live when we've had these Humpty Dumpty phase. That it all levels out a bit more, and it will level out, but not at this moment.
No. Right now it's still crashing.
Yeah. And I think as maybe it will take 20 years more, because it's really big, and it's well, it's like that.
I don't even think it will take 20 years. It will. The next 5 years will be very interesting.
Yeah. And I think you and I can think easier in short term. Now that's also a contradiction, because people who still think that the first part is accessible for them, and I think 95% is. They really are coming out of their illusion in the next 5 years, and what will happen then, with the tipping point?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's hilarious times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But leave it here, and we're gonna cut it and make a nice podcast of it.
Exactly.
And well, next topic, I hear from you, or you hear from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter.
Yeah, well done, and you too. Thanks.